In a competitive world, average won't cut it. The Success Launch Point shows you how to stand out, deliver massive value, and rise above the crowd. With on-demand courses, expert coaching, and a community focused on growth, you'll accelerate your career and your paycheck. It's time to level up. Check out modernobserver.com/launchpoint.
Hamas refuses to go quietly. More moves to stop the drug cartels. The media stands up to the Pentagon, and more. Welcome to the Raw Naked Truth. I'm your host, Eric Lopkin, and here's the news you need to know. The fragile Middle East ceasefire deal was thrown into doubt Tuesday by Hamas's defiance and brutal tactics, just a day after the release of the last 20 living Israeli hostages. The group failed to return the remains of all 28 deceased hostages by the 72-hour deadline, delivering only 4 bodies on Monday, with 4 more expected on Tuesday but not received. Instead of moving towards disarmament as required by the peace plan, Hamas deployed about 7,000 armed security forces to cleanse Gaza, leading to public executions of alleged Israeli collaborators and deadly clashes with rival clans. President Trump on Tuesday sent a stark message to Hamas, warning the terrorist network that if it doesn't disarm, then we will disarm them. They said they were going to disarm, and if they don't disarm, we will disarm them, he told reporters from the White House while meeting with Argentinian President Javier Milei. President Trump on Tuesday posthumously awarded conservative activist Charlie Kirk the nation's highest civilian honor, the Presidential Medal of Freedom, on what would have been his 32nd birthday. The ceremony took place in the newly renovated White House Rose Garden. The award was accepted by Erica Kirk, who delivered tearful remarks on her husband's life and legacy. President Donald Trump announced Tuesday that the U.S. military carried out another strike on a suspected drug vessel off the coast of Venezuela, killing 6 suspected smugglers. Under my standing authorities as Commander-in-Chief this morning, the Secretary of War ordered a lethal kinetic strike on a vessel affiliated with a designated terrorist organization conducting narco-trafficking in the U.S. Southcom area of responsibility, just off the coast of Venezuela. Intelligence confirmed the vessel was trafficking narcotics, was associated with illicit narco-terrorist networks, and was transiting along a known DTO route, Trump wrote Tuesday on Truth Social. The strike was conducted in international waters, and 6 male narco-terrorists aboard the vessel were killed in the strike, Trump said. No U.S. forces were harmed. The strike comes after the White House sent lawmakers a memo September 30th informing them that the U.S. is now participating in a non-international armed conflict with drug smugglers. Additionally, it comes on the heels of 4 other fatal strikes against alleged drug boats in the Caribbean since September. In another move against the cartels, the Trump administration has revoked the visas of at least 50 politicians and government officials in Mexico as part of its crackdown against drug cartels and their suspected political allies, according to Reuters. The politicians and officials are members of the country's ruling Morena Party, headed by Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum, along with dozens from other parties, 2 Mexican officials told the outlet. Their names haven't been publicly confirmed, but at least 4 officials have acknowledged losing visas, including Baja California Governor Marina del Pilar Avila, who has denied any links to organized crime. The major broadcast networks, along with Fox News and CNN, issued a joint statement opposing the Pentagon's new restrictions on press access to the complex, concluding that it is without precedent and threatens core journalistic protections. The statement from NBC News, CBS News, and ABC News, along with the cable networks, said, "Today, we join virtually every other news organization in declining to agree to the Pentagon's new requirements, which would restrict journalists' ability to keep the nation and the world informed of important national security issues. The policy is without precedent and threatens core journalistic protections. We will continue to cover the U.S. military as each of our organizations has done for many decades, upholding the principles of a free and independent press." MSNBC, Newsmax, and major newspapers, while not part of the joint statement, also refused to sign the agreement. Instagram announced sweeping changes to its content restrictions for teenagers on Tuesday, introducing guidelines based on the film industry's PG-13 rating and restricting adult content and some inappropriate accounts altogether. The new rules will also apply to AI chatbots accessed by teenage users on the platform. Stellantis, the parent company of Chrysler, Jeep, and other auto brands, plans to invest $13 billion in U.S. manufacturing operations over the next 4 years as the company executes a domestic turnaround under CEO Antonio Filosa. The transatlantic automaker on Tuesday said the investments will add more than 5,000 jobs to its domestic workforce and increase domestic production by 50%. The plans include bringing new vehicles to plants in Michigan, Illinois, Indiana, and Ohio through 2029. U.S.-listed shares of Stellantis rose more than 5% in after-hours trading Tuesday. The company's stock is off 24% this year. The announcement comes amid President Donald Trump's efforts to create more manufacturing jobs in the U.S. through the use of aggressive tariffs, especially for the automotive industry. The company said the plans expand those Stellantis chair John Elkman detailed to Trump in January. The biggest banks in the U.S. started earnings season off with a bang yesterday, with J.P. Morgan, Goldman Sachs, Wells Fargo, and Citigroup all beating third-quarter profit forecasts as deal-making, trading, and corporate lending all surged. Goldman is headed towards its best year ever for its main investment banking unit, the Wall Street Journal reports, and J.P. Morgan took in $8.9 billion in trading revenues last quarter, a record for the third quarter. But even with the stock market soaring and businesses diving back into mergers and acquisitions, choppier waters may lie ahead. J.P. Morgan CEO Jamie Dimon noted that recent auto industry bankruptcies flashed a red flag for the private credit market, saying, "When you see one cockroach, there are probably more." While Fed Chair Jerome Powell didn't outright say the central bank would continue to chop interest rates, his remarks at an economic conference in Philadelphia suggested that the weakening labor market will require further cuts despite inflation. Although the government shutdown precludes new official economic data, Powell said the outlook for employment and inflation does not appear to have changed much since our September meeting, which is when the Fed cut rates for the first time this year. The speech left economists anticipating a rate cut at the Fed's next meeting on October 28th and 29th, with another cut to follow. Powell also suggested the Fed may soon stop shrinking its portfolio of assets, a move that could also slightly lower borrowing costs. That's the Raw Naked Truth. You can catch every episode of the Raw Naked Truth Daily News Brief, as well as our sister podcast, Carnivore Radio, with news analysis and commentary, and the rest of the Xvadio Podcast Network at xvadio.com, the Apple Podcast app, YouTube, Rumble, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Audible, Amazon Music, and other platforms that respect freedom of speech. We'll see you next time.